Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. So in this video, we are looking at some charting tips and things that could help us along our trading journey. But first, y'all, let me give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. But if you could please like, share, subscribe, y'all. We learn and we grow together. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at E-mini, NASDAQ, just for charting purposes, right? So I wanted to mark, you see a lot of gray shaded outlines on my chart because it helps me with identifying support and resistance. And if it's overwhelming for you, sometimes we have to just go in and figure out what works best for us that will give us a visual that we could look at during, our trading, and something that could help us, but not get so overwhelming and overpowered to where we're distracted. That's something, right? So I gray out these lines. Why? Because it helps me. So I want to mark this level. Again, we're looking at the NASDAQ or E-mini. So here, when I draw a line for support or resistance, if I draw the line, something has to touch that line a few times, because that lets me know that was either a resistance area or a support area. So I knew that we were making new highs here, so I need to go in and mark those levels. Definitely need to mark this level here because it was a high. Something stopped me at this area. So going back to the upside, I want to remember that, right? What's interesting is we see a lot of wicks on the top of those right here in this area. That means there were sellers in that area. When I see wicks at the top, again, I think of sellers. When I see wicks at the bottom here, I think of buyers, right? So what's interesting is there's something stopping us here, and I'm going to just make a line. Why? Because I want the top of that. My visual is here, and I'm just going to make the line. I'm going to extend that over to this area, but I'm going to use, again, these two here as a guide for me. So I'm going to go to try to get to the top of where the body of the candle is. Yes, the wick is important, but as of now, the body is what's important for me, right? So I'm going to stop right here, and I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit, and it doesn't matter if you get right exactly. It kind of gives us an idea of where. Yes, okay, so it kind of gives us an idea of where we could possibly have trouble. And I say that so often, we could possibly, because y'all, in this market, nothing is guaranteed. Keep in mind when you're trading, there's always somebody on the opposite end of your trade that kind of see the exact same thing that you see. Keep that in mind, right? So again, I drew this line here because the body of the candle touches here, it touches here. There's a body almost touching in this area, not the exact place, but it's still at that line, right? There's a level here that's at that line. There's a level here that's at the line. There's another level here that's at the line. There's another level that's touching that line or at that line. So I definitely need to remember this area here moving back, because see, it's down here moving back to the upside. Breaking this level means I could possibly have trouble in this area. Now, I have the ATR trailing stop already automatically, on my charts, but if those pink dotted lines were not there, I still would know, based on my visual, the line that I just marked as a resistance area, I could still get stopped out in this area. Why? Because something touched it at least 5 or 6 times before. It was trouble there then. It could very well be trouble there again, or we can break through that level. So charting is not difficult. It's just knowing how to go in and set, what you're looking for. What I look for is the body of the candle. Again, I pay very close attention to the wick of the candle. Say, for instance, I wanted to mark this level here based on just the wick of the candle. Why? Because, something stopped us in this area. So I'm going to draw a line here, just, it touched it here and it touched it here. Well, I have more lines at, the area of where more touches of where the body of the candles were, meaning, there's more places on the body versus I did on the wick. right? So now keep in mind, if we break this level here, we could still have trouble in this area, because technically this is what stopped us. This is what prevented us from moving higher at that time. But again, I want to see as many things possible, or as many candles possible, areas possible, or bodies of that candle touching the line that I marked. So that's just how I look at the market. And again, I say it so often, y'all, there's so many different ways to trade, and it's trying to figure out the strategy that works best for you. So I'm going to see it back to the downside at this area here, because why? If you can look, the body of these candles here, something stopped us, held us up in this area, even though, this was an area that I had previously marked as already shaded out. But if you look at it, it's something right under that, not, they knew this area as I did, right? So I'm going to go back and mark this level here, because something is stopping us in this area here. Is that important? Is, in a trade, to you it may not be, to me it may be. So it's what works best for you, because those lines are so close together. What would be important is, I've already had this line right here marked. Yes, it kind of broke through that just slightly, but either way, it was a support area for us. Now again, if that got overwhelming, I would just take that and shade it out, make it a color to where, I'm like filtering the noise basically. I'm putting it in the background. I know that it's there. Price stayed in this area for a reason. I kind of want to remember that. Why? Because going back to the upside, before getting to this place here, I could have got stopped out in this area here, only to come back to the downside. So that's something to be mindful of, right? So again, charting is not difficult. Trading is not difficult. I always say, y'all, it's just learning a language and putting that language together. And you have to kind of think of it as a puzzle, and applying, learning that piece, studying that piece, and applying it once you understand it and once you can get it, and keep practicing at it until you get it, right? So again, I'm just going back through the I always get that NQ or E-mini, NASDAQ, whichever way, and trying to figure out the filler places, the places that I can go in and try to work on my charting, right? So if we notice that this again is the area that I had already previously had marked, this was another area, and price actually came back to this place again, back to the upside. This is the support area. This is our resistance area here. We just marked this area. It is a resistance area. Why? Because the body of the candles here something held us up in this area before. So it is a resistance area. It was a support area. It is now a resistance area. And that's a great example of when support becomes resistance, or resistance becomes our support. So back to the upside, we did mark this level here, and it was a resistance area for us. It is now a resistance area for us. So we definitely need to watch that. So y'all, this is how I look at the charts. I go to the body of the candles. I look at the wick, yes, but mostly the body is what's important for me. I mark those levels, and I try to find areas to where a lot of things are touching that line. Just to do a recap, a lot of things are touching that line. I mark that, and once, I try to gray it out, shade it out to where I need to remember that going back, or, if we should ever make it back to that area. So charting is very important. Identifying your support and your resistance is very, very important. In my opinion, it's a very big part outside of the mental aspect of trading, and having the psychological aspect of trading, and yeah. So identifying your support and your resistance is very important, and we do that just by, I always try to figure out where the gathering spot, I call it the gathering spot, is the consolidation area. That's where prices just gathered together. How many times have it touched this line? It's touched it a few times. I need to remember that. Why? Because something kept us there for a reason. So identify those places, and then making sure that you have the discipline to execute your plan, meaning getting in at the right time, out at the right time. And again, I look at either the 1 hour chart. This is the 1 hour. I'm going to go to the 30-minute chart. So that's what I like to look at, which is the 30-minute chart. So looking at the 30-minute here, we can mark another level, which is here. Why? Because something stopped us. Help 1, 2, 3, the body 4, body 5, here 6. So there's another area. Just by looking at that really quick, we just went and marked another level of, in my opinion, this will be a zone that it was trading in. I was on a higher time frame, which is the 1 hour. I like to look at the 30-minute chart because, again, I say it tells a story that I just like to read, right? So I just marked another level based on drawing a line and finding place, seeing that something stopped us in that area a few times, right? I need to remember that going back to the upside. This could be another trouble place for us. So y'all, again, this is what I see when I look at the market. I hope that this video is very, very helpful with your trading journey and learning how to mark your levels of support and resistance. And the reason why we mark those areas, again, is because something stopped us, something prevented us from moving higher or dropping lower. So that's really important when it comes to trading. So I hope that everyone have a very profitable and a very productive day. I say that often, right? So again, if you could, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Y'all, we learn and we grow together. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.